Hello everyone. So today our group 5, will talk about feminism and feminists in literary criticism. Our group our group members are Gabriela Daisy, Ganesha Daniela, Dandi, Rari, and Kartika Purnomo. And then this is our table of contents. The first one, we will talk about what is feminism. So there are some definitions of feminism. Feminism is about social and political movement. The movement to change the way how people see about gender in equal ones and all genders having equal rights and opportunity. Feminism is about the gender equality of for men and women. Feminism is not all about the woman. And feminism people didn't mean or hate the men. Feminism is an ideology and social movement to reach the equality of right for women and men in social, political, and economic. And then we will talk about labels of feminism. The understanding of feminism could be changed or even wider from time to time. And feminism divided into three waves, which maybe it can continue until the fourth wave or more. And this labeling was aimed to help people understand about feminism. The first one is liberal feminism. So liberal feminism is about the freedom movement for women. And then there is Marxist and socialist feminism, which focuses on the unfair gender division of labor, and women are considered as mothers who carry out social reproduction. And then there is radical feminism, which focus on body, sexuality, and contentment, which intersects with the lesbianism movement. And then there is feminism second wave. After that, we have existentialist feminism, which opens women's perspectives to gender. And then there is feminism psychoanalysis, came from women which have moral workings but not respected by the patriarchal world. And then there is third wave feminism and feminism postmodern, which believes that others are capable of criticizing dominant structures and dismantling injustice practices. And then there is feminism multicultural, opens voices to theological feminism, where previously religion was seen as a perfect patriarchal system. And then the last one we have ecofeminism, emphasize the relationship between woman and nature. Um, the labeling of feminism will be explained later by Lari. And then the next slide will present by my friend.
So the second is the history of feminism. Next. So feminism arises because women are considered irrational because they are considered to use feelings as a measure. Word feminism was career in 1837. Feminism is an era of enlightenment in Europe, spearheaded by Lady Mary Wortley Montagu and Marquis de Condorcet. Next. Next. So the first wave of feminism is headquartered in Europe in 16th until 18th century. Sorry, next. Okay. Focuses on political inequality, especially in fighting for women's suffrage or emancipation in the political field. The influence of the church dogma at that time became the number one virtue, which said women are incarnation of the devil. The church got criticized by some European philosophers too because of their discriminatory policies. And also American Revolution of 1776 and French Revolution of 1792 developed the idea that women are less fortunate than men in society. Women from the upper, middle, and lower classes did not have the right for education, politics, property rights, and job. And in 1830 until 1840, women began to be noticed by the improvement of working hours, salaries, education, and rights. Women began to be noticed at the same time as the eradication of slavery. Feminism flourished in the US after the publication of John Stuart Mill on his book entitled The Subjection of Women in 1869. Next. And then this is the branches of feminism from the first wave. The first is liberal feminism, is a woman must be educated to be able to compete for the principle of masculinity, or we call it woman in development. The problem under development of women comes from itself, and the efforts made must include equal rights, education, law, and rules. The second is radical feminism. It's emerged because of the oppression of women and patriarchal ideology, such as control over women, which is a sexual hierarchy system in which men are superior. Is feminism Marxism. Feminism, the notion of biology as the basis of gender distinction. The only problems are always placed within the framework of capitalism criticism. In the era of capitalism, the oppression of women was getting stronger. Women became workers with lower wages than men. So the oppression of women is structural in nature and will be resolved if there is a change in the class structure, in the sense of abolishing the international capitalist system. And the fourth is socialist feminism. It focuses on the interrelation between patriarchy and capitalism. It's a two-pronged theory that extends the argument of Marxist feminism on the role of capitalism in the oppression of women and the radical feminism theory of gender roles and patriarchy. Socialist feminists argue that liberation can only be achieved by ending the economic and cultural resources of women's oppression. Socialist feminists assumes that Marx and Engels with personal is political and radical ideas is synthesized. And of course, with the hope of maintaining femininity, it is felt that the oppression that occurs in the class, even in the socialist revolution, cannot elevate the status of women. So according to the socialists, it is necessary to combine an analysis of class and analysis of patriarchy. Next. The second wave of feminism is in 19th century. The first is second wave of feminism is focuses on women's liberation, or commonly known as woman liberation. It can be said that this is the period that emerged as a reaction of women or feminists to their dissatisfaction with various discriminatory practices. Moreover, it is known that legally and politically, this has actually been achieved by the first wave of feminism, but in practice, it has not been maximally realized. And then the involvement of women in parliamentary voting rights. This is the emerge of new countries is the beginning of for women to play a role in politics. And the second wave was spearheaded by French feminists. They are Helen Sixos, Jewish, and Julia Kristeva. The feminist wave in the USA was tougher and louder because the impact of the book entitled The Feminine Mystique that was written by Betty Friedan. In 1960, feminism succeeded in shaking up the system of modern society, which was still culturally patriarchal, and in 19 are an important structure in modern society. So feminism in science is not centered on women's issues, but also reforms the very patriarchal ideology of science. In feminism, modern science is a representation of men who exploit nature. And nature is a representation of women who are weak, passive, and helpless. With such a patriarchal relationship, modern science is a reflection of the nature of masculinity in producing knowledge that tends to be exploitative and destructive. And the last is this form of the science and idea called the feminist science. Next. The third wave is popular and known as modern feminism. Post-feminism emerged because of the disagreement of the idea of the second wave of feminism. And there is a branches from the third wave. The first is postmodern feminism, is rejecting fanatical and traditional ways of thinking. And the second is multicultural feminism, is oppression of women is not from class, race, sexual preference, age, education, and occupation. And the third is global feminism, is women's oppression comes from the interlocking system. It's focused on oppression because of the national policies that cause oppression for today's women. They agreed that they should pay more attention to political and economic oppression. And the last is ecofeminism, is a movement that creates and preserves nature. In the ecofeminism movement, women are considered to play a strategic role. Our roles of these women are trying to prevent or at least create a comfortable and a beautiful natural environment. Next.
Uh, okay. I will take this one term in feminism. Next. So this is our one of the terms in feminism. First, there's intersectionality. Intersectionality is a form of feminism that aims to include all women and recognize that race, gender identity, sexual orientation, ability, and class all influence how much and in what ways women are oppressed. Second are misandry, considered to be a modern feminist term, because women need to be careful that male bashing doesn't go too far. It's one thing to call out men when they behave badly, but sweeping condemnations and generalizations should not be lobbied against all men. Oftentimes, misandry backfires and creates hostility towards women as well. The third are trans misogyny. Feminists use this term to call specific attention to discrimination against trans women, which often results in sexual assault. The fourth, radical feminism. Radical feminism sees gender constructs as the cause for women's oppression, and it posits that the patriarchy must be completely dismantled. Liberal feminists believe that the problem is in the system, like the law and education. The fifth are privilege. Privilege refers to a set advantages enjoyed by majority group. Historically, feminism catered to white, straight, and cisgender women. Women of privilege must think about sexual inequality beyond their own experiences and understand how it affects women of color and LGBT women as well. And finally, the last are male gaze. It means depicting the world and woman in visual and literature from a heterosexual point of view, in which women are seen as objects for male pleasure. That's it.
The next is a prominent figure of feminism. Next, please. The first was Mary Wollstonecraft. She was English writer and advocate of educational and social equality for women. She wrote A Vindication of the Rights of Women in 1792, which argues about education system which seems unfair for most women and girls should have the same advantage as boys. Not only that, in that time there was many feminists who made the same pleas, but Wollstonecraft's work was unique in suggesting that the betterment of women's status be effected through such political changes. And next is Simone de Beauvoir. She's a French writer and feminist who criticized patriarchal systems. And in 1949, she authored The Second Sex, in which she showed how men had consistently denied women's identity, drawing on history and art psychology. The third is Elizabeth Cady Stanton. She was an American leader in the women's rights movement in 1848, formulated the first concerted demand for women's suffrage in the United States with Susan B. Anthony planning. They were planning campaigns, speaking before legislative bodies. Next, please. And the next is Susan B. Anthony. She was an American activist who was a pioneer crusader for the women's suffrage movement in the United States and was president of the National Women's Suffrage Association. And during the early phase of the Civil War, she helped organize the Women's National Loyal League, which urged the case of emancipation. Next is Sojourner Truth. She was African American evangelist and reformer who applied her religious fervor to the abolitionist and women's rights movement. Sojourner Truth is best known for her speech on racial inequality and a Women, delivered at the Ohio Women's Rights Convention in 185. And the last one is Madonna. Madonna is a modern feminist. She's an American pop star and an icon of reinvented the world of women, also crossing gender stereotypes. She exposed the Puritanism and suffocating ideology of American feminism. She taught young women to be fully female and can control their own life. Next.
Now the last slide will be presented by Daisy, by me. Before I start, I want to apologize that my camera is not working. I'm presenting from my phone, and the camera, the front and the back camera is not working on my phone. And for now, I will present the last slide, which is how to analyze drama using feminism. Next, please. So feminism in a drama, it has an aspect, feminist aspect inside a drama can be easily shown as it seeks for gender equality. It examines as a form of protest towards the gender equality into all aspects of the literature. So when you want to interpret the feminism aspect in the drama, everything will be focused
focusing on the gender equality. Next slide, please. Now I will tell you how to analyze drama using feminism. The headline will be the focus will be captured in women. Neither it is supporting the gender equality or vice versa. So in a drama, it can be, or in a literature work, it can be supporting the woman or even the opposite of it. So it will show how the opposite of supporting the women will be showing how the women are, or the ladies are being discriminated by the society, and they do not have any fair gender equality. So there are 3 steps that I put here. The first one is to read the literature more than one time. Don't forget to take notes of every important event. The second one is to take notes at the plot, the characters, conflicts, and the setting of the literature. And the third step will be analyzing the characters. The focus will be about the women concerning about the gender and society. Next slide, please. So in this last slide, I want to take you to look deeper on the 3 steps that to know about feminism in a drama. The first step is to read again. You have to make sure that you understand the literature or the drama, and if you can find and try to search for the writer's background, so that you will know if the writer's background have similarities or reference to the literature that they make. The second one, the step 2, you need to take a look at the plot, the characters, the conflict, the setting. These aspects mentioned will be about gender and society focusing on women's rights. So we are focusing on feminism. So we are looking forward for the plot, the characters, conflict settings that is narrowed to the gender equality. And the last one, in here, to know the feminism aspect, you need to focus on the characters. You have already get the idea of the plot, the characters, the conflict settings. And the last step, you may just focus on the main characters and the other characters. Here, the Roman characters that is being present, then they must be having a critical minded or being a brave woman and not easily giving up. And she might be fighting for justice and human rights, especially for equality. You need to take a look too at the male characters or the opposite gender that is giving interaction towards the female characters. In here, from all of these 3 steps, you can get the point to analyze drama using feminism. You can see the points where how women interact with men and how men interact with women. And so you will get the idea. So this is a quote by a modern feminist, Emma Watson. If you stand for equality, then you're a feminist. Sorry to tell you, by Emma Watson. That's all for today. Thank you so much, friends and Miss. We hope that this presentation will help you a lot. If there's any questions, please put on below the comments. Thank you.